the Stronger Than Autoimmune podcast. I'm your host, Desiree, autoimmune coach and advocate, here to help you reclaim energy and resilience one realistic step at a time. Today, I'm joined by Shivani Gupta, an Ayurvedic practitioner, turmeric researcher, and founder of Fusionary Formulas. She's on a mission to help women calm inflammation, balance hormones, and boost energy through simple, sustainable Ayurvedic practices. If you ever felt inflamed, exhausted, or out of sync with your body, which we all have with autoimmune disease, this is the episode will show you how ancient Ayurvedic wisdom can beautifully fit into modern life without adding one more thing to your list. Thank you so much, Doctor.
Thank you for having me. I love being on your podcast again, so thank you.
Yes. And for listeners that haven't listened, or the new listeners that haven't listened to your podcast in the back in, it was probably 2023, can you explain what Ayurveda is and how it's the science of life?
Absolutely. So Ayurveda is this ancient system of medicine and health and healing from India that's over 5,000 years old. And the dream of Ayurveda is to help us bring body, mind, and spirit into alignment. And what that means is oftentimes we are running 200 miles an hour with our brain, leaving our poor body behind, trying to keep up. Oftentimes we're doing so much for our health, our well-being, our lives, our commitments that we have, but we're forgetting the spirit piece and why we're doing all this. It's for that joy and for that vibrancy. And so I love teaching this ancient system because it's a truly preventive system of health. And the 6 pillars that I teach from Ayurveda are: what is your elemental design? What is your constitution? So this wisdom taught us we each have our own type of body constitution, Vata, Pitta, or Kapha. And if we know which category we fit into, we can actually navigate life from that place, which makes things way easier. Ayurveda also taught we have something called a circadian rhythm and a circadian clock. And right now, modern wellness, modern longevity, people are talking a lot about the circadian clock, which has now been proven by science to be true. And ancient Ayurveda said we must live in rhythm with nature to have the health that we want. But another pillar I love diving into is gut health. Ayurveda said gut health is the center of all health. Your immunity, your brain, your mood, everything centers around that gut. So Ayurveda has a lot of natural remedies, natural tools to support great gut health. Then I like teaching about the super spices, what I call the mindful medicine chest, these herbs and spices. Herbology and Mother Nature's toolkit is a big piece of Ayurveda because we want you to have natural tools that can help achieve the goal, but without the side effects. And then my 5th pillar is about self-care. How do you build a self-care rhythm into your day? Beautiful rituals that are detoxing and that help you achieve your goals when it comes to inflammation and better health. And then my final one from my new book, The Inflammation Code, I came up with a term called mental inflammation because I find that although I can teach you so much to win at your health, if you're going to be suffering with mental inflammation, you're still going to cause all the physical inflammation.
Yeah, you cannot separate the mind from the body.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad that you're bringing that up. Going back to what your new book is called, Inflammation Code, how does Ayurveda view information, and what is the fastest ways we can start cooling that inflammation down?
So Ayurveda taught us how to build a truly preventive lifestyle. So the whole lifestyle is anti-inflammatory. I brought in the word inflammation to show like, hey, we know inflammation in the modern day construct is a root cause issue. We know that it's the problem. But if you took a big step back into the ancient wisdom would never have built a lifestyle the way we live it right now. We wouldn't have a lifestyle with such a significant environmental toxin burden around us that's causing that inflammation. We wouldn't have a diet that's so processed and so full of fake foods and inflammatory foods that those are causing issues. Back in the day, they didn't stay up until like midnight, 1 a.m. The candles wouldn't burn that long. So they didn't defy nature's clock at the level that we do right now. They lived according to nature's clock because that's what you did. You didn't have all the modern things we have now. And so Ayurveda basically taught us that, look, when you have a body that's totally dysregulated, where immune system is reacting and wondering what is wrong, Your job is to really cool down that system and show it how to get into balance and into harmony as fast as possible. The quickest way there is to support the body to heal itself, because the body has that capacity. The problem is there's just so many interferences coming from all directions, the body's confused. It's fighting a fire on all fronts. That's why we feel systemic joint pain, or we feel so many different symptoms in different spaces. Like inflammation can show up as headaches, fatigue, gut issues, feeling bloated or feeling unwell in our stomach. It can show up as that joint pain. It can show up as a constellation of symptoms. And so Ayurveda says, look, you have the power. You hold every single tool in your hands. It really comes down to, how are you going to wake up and take care of yourself? How are you going to eat and manage yourself all day? And how would you like to sleep? And between all of those times and the rhythm you build, you can completely win at inflammation.
I always found it fascinating. We talked about this before about the specific and different people. Like I'm a Vata, and I know we kind of talked about this. Like I like the warming foods, and I need certain ways of handling my circadian rhythm and what I bring into my body. With the inflammation code, are things separated like that also, of what to do for the body?
Absolutely. So when I was writing the book, I was trying to figure out, how do I simplify Ayurveda in a way that people can easily use? And our constitutions, our mind body constitutions from Ayurveda, are still a central, huge piece of how we navigate our health. And so I kept thinking, if I teach everyone so many weird Sanskrit words, they're going to look at me like I'm crazy. And so I renamed the constitution your elemental design. And so your elemental design is the elemental forces you use to navigate and design your entire life. So, for example, if you're a Vata person, and in the West we pronounce it Vata, a Vata person is going to be made up of the elements of air and ether. That is someone who's going to tend towards being thin and wiry, maybe taller or shorter than everyone in their demographic. Their tendency is going to have dry, brittle hair, tendency towards a long oval face, tendency towards small bones. This is someone who likely is a busybody. They're always in motion like air. So they can be like a beautiful breeze or like a ceiling fan, a little more controlled, or imbalanced or like a tornado. It's like everything all over and really dysregulated. It happens, right? And so a Vata person has certain homework, because they are that creative type. They are the airy type. They have access to so many cool ideas, but they also might look like a flake sometimes. They might start so many cool things, but never finish them. And so the homework from Ayurveda is, let me show you, for your Vata type, how to adjust your sleep, your gut health practices, your self-care rituals, the super spices you use, how to navigate with your own self-care rhythm throughout your day to stay warm and grounded and nourished. But the people are also people who can run throughout their day and forget to eat. They're like, oh, I had green juice and coffee and some chips or crackers and I was fine. And the rest of us are like, that would never happen in my life. I could never live without food the way a Vata person could. And so it's so cool to know that, right? Because once you know that, you know your tendency and you know what causes the imbalance, you can very easily build a lifestyle. Might not be easy for a Vata person, but you can build a lifestyle that's like, okay, I eat my 3 square meals a day. I reach towards warming, grounding, nourishing foods. That keeps me more regulated. I add in that healthy fat very consciously, because I would typically skip it. But in my case, that is my medicine. And so that's how Ayurveda teaches us to really customize our health lifestyle practices for ourselves. Because unfortunately, nowadays, we're seeing so much online about health trends. You could be a Vata who's trying to hold like a 16-hour, 18-hour fast, and that could be pretty negative for you. Or you could be a Vata who's cold plunging every day. And it's like, well, can your nervous system handle that? Do you have the capacity? Have you built that yet for your body type? And then another body type we teach about is called Pitta. In the West, we pronounce it Pitta. A Pitta person is medium bodied. This is someone who has reddish skin, tends towards reddish hair or early graying in their hair. This is someone who's all fire with some water. So all the traits of fire. They're passionate, ambitious, goal-oriented, organized. They want to create things in the world. They tend to get really hangry. They have a really strong digestive fire. And so they're pretty voracious in their eating. Pitta people love hot, spicy, oily food. Pitta people want to do everything over hot, and then their imbalance is they tend to erupt and explode on everyone around them. They're like a volcano, and their closest people become collateral damage. And so it's really important for Pitta people to recognize that, okay, I know I'm fiery. How am I going to manage my day? How am I going to eat on time? How am I going to carry food with me at all times so I have a backup plan? How am I going to stay hydrated or reach into cooling summer foods that keep my system cool, calm, and collected? And so there's a whole homework piece for Pitta to kind of manage themselves like a nuclear reactor and make sure they don't, go into explosion or meltdown mode. And then finally, you have Gupha. Gupha is earth and water. This is someone who is bigger boned, stronger, more sturdy. They have round features, a round face, round eyes, oily, curlier hair. This is someone who's very one thing at a time. They're very Mother Earth energy, so caretaker energy, grandma energy. In a man, it feels more like a mountain energy. Like you're not going to move that energy. And in a woman, it's more of that caretaker, deeply loyal, feeds everyone, takes care of everyone personality. They're very one thing at a time. So they speak a little bit more slowly, one task at a time. A Gupha person can tend towards a more sluggish metabolism, can tend towards constipation, more mucus issues because of that earth and water piece. And so the homework we have for Gupha is, I know a Gupha person, when you get home at the end of the day, once you sit down, you cannot get off the couch. Like nothing can get you up. It's like Mother Earth sat down. And so when you're going through, yeah, it's so interesting. So when you're going through that time of your life, or if that is your constitution, because some of us have different seasons of our lives, if that's your constitution, we can show you how to really combat that sluggish metabolism, how to wake up and get your energy moving. So you have your most productive, beautiful day. Then you understand that your nature is the caretaker energy. When you're done, you're done. And so I teach them, look, it's not about cold, raw food. It's actually about cooked food for you as well, easy to digest, nourishing, less dairy, and things like that. So it's really fun once you understand your constitution, because we can all have a primary and a secondary, or some people could have all three in balance. When you understand your constitution, you can actually customize all of your other health practices in your life and then not struggle with the guesswork of trying to figure out, okay, should I do that fast or that cold plunge or that heating thing? You have a bigger foundation proven by ancient Ayurvedic medicine of how to navigate yourself.
I love that. Thank you so much for explaining each one. As you're explaining, I'm like, who's this? And ooh. And I think I asked you this last time, but if you're a Vata, can you go into a different one?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. You can have different times of your life. So, for example, I'm a born Pitta. And then after I had kids, I became very Gupha. And I couldn't understand. I'd spend the whole weekend on the couch and I could not get myself up. But you know what? It was a Gupha time of life. My job was new mother. My job was to sit still and really love on and caretake the baby. So it's understandable that we kind of meander through different seasons. Right now, I'm in a book launch mode. So I'm a very Vata girl, all air, all chaos, and all the things. And I'm like, okay, well, then what is the homework? Triple down on grounding, triple down on food and nourishment, circadian walking. So we suddenly can realize what is the homework to stay really balanced. And most people ask me, well, how do I know which one I am? So I have a quiz on my website for elemental design at drshivani.com that they can take, and they'll know in like under 3 minutes which one is their constitution.
Yeah, I just did mine again because I was like, I wonder if I changed since the last time I, I spoke to
Yeah.
her. No, I didn't.
Yeah. Sometimes that innate, born with it constitution is going to be the primary. And sometimes it's our secondary that can shift. So I'm a Pitta and I can tend towards Gupha in certain seasons of my life. And I can definitely easily go towards Vata more often.
So many patients with autoimmune disease deal with fatigue, brain fog, and pain. How does Ayurvedic practices use spices and digestion to reduce symptoms?
Ooh, great question. So in Ayurveda, we are obsessed with spices. I call them super spices because oftentimes in the West, we think of superfoods as blueberries and spinach and salmon and like goji berries and maca. I went through a phase after kids where I was like, I need more energy. And I went and bought all of them. And then I was like, half of these are so gross. I am not eating maca and moringa. Like I was not into the majority of them. And so I thought, well, let me research, like, what is this going to do for me? So when I researched, I saw, okay, you guys all give us anti-inflammatory benefits and antioxidant benefits at a higher level than a typical food. And that's what's qualifying you as a superfood. Okay, well, in Ayurveda, our super spices do that. Turmeric, ginger, we have so many benefits to each spice. And so I remember when I was sitting in an herbology class doing my master's in Ayurvedic sciences, I saw the teacher say, cilantro is a heavy metal detoxer. Cinnamon helps balance blood sugar levels. Cumin seeds help us a lot when we want to digest something that's hard to digest. And what I realized was my typical Indian diet already included all these great spices. And so a couple of simple spices I recommend are one, cumin seeds. We always, when we're going to cook any beans, any lentils, even cauliflower, which we consider hard to digest, we put down oil, ghee, or butter and heat up those cumin seeds first. Like give them a minute to start kind of popping and for their aroma to kind of come along. And that's our way to help pre-digest that food. We know cumin's going to assist in the digesting process of any food that we're about to eat. We also have another spice called hing. It's much more rare and it's much stinkier as an Ayurvedic spice, but it also functions in that way. So we would never cook our lentils or beans without hing and cumin. They're both necessary. But if you only have one on hand, at least use your cumin seeds. Then another one we love is ginger. Ginger is an incredible plant. You could take fresh ginger and put it in tea. You can put it into your food. You can use ginger powder. Ginger is anti-inflammatory. It's very good for the digestive system. Helps with nausea. We know that basic fact about ginger in the West, but it actually does so much more. So from a gut health standpoint, adding ginger into your daily life is very powerful. And then finally, my favorite spice of all is turmeric. I ended up doing my PhD dissertation on turmeric, the spice, became such an evangelist of it. And I do think it is the best super spice out there because turmeric is anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, antiviral, antibacterial, antifungal. And growing up, I didn't realize, I kept saying to everyone, why don't I have an immune system? How come you guys get to all do whatever you want, but I am always falling sick no matter what I do? Later, fast forward, it took me till 40 to understand that I had leaky gut. And leaky gut fully explains why most of my life has gone the way it has and why when anyone has a cold, I have to mount like a complete defensive shield and plan to not catch whatever's going around. And I still function that way around travel, around conferences, around different things. I have to like really put a plan in place. And so my first piece of that plan is always turmeric now because I know the power of turmeric. And what I also love about turmeric is it's so good for us without doing anything bad. So, for example, it's this ultimate janitor. If we talk about gut health, which is what you said, digestion, it'll go in there and take out the bad. It's anti-candida, anti-H. pylori, anti-parasitic, it's anti-zombie cell, anti-malignant cells. Like it'll kill off the bad, but leave the good. It'll leave the good keystone bacteria in place and everything that we need to have. It's a powerful anti-aging tool as well. So to me, turmeric's my favorite. I just want everyone to remember to always take it with black pepper or a healthy fat. And then remember, out of the entire turmeric plant, only 3 to 5% is the curcuminoids. So if you want that significant reduction in inflammation, you need to focus on those curcuminoids.
Thank you for explaining all those different spices that are beneficial when we eat them. You talk about these spices, cumin
Yes.
in Spanish, or my heritage, Hispanic, is called comino.
Yes.
And we use a lot of comino in San Antonio.
Yeah.
So, and it has a very distinct smell. And I mean, that is the flavor that I think of when making Tex-Mex or Hispanic dishes. It doesn't have comino. It doesn't smell right. Like, oh, there's something missing.
Right.
And that's that special flavor to it. How do you start integrating these different spices into your day? Is it through a pill, or do you give recipes so if people don't know where to start? How do
Sure.
you start blending these into your day?
Sure. I love that you mentioned Mexican food because I'm from Houston, Texas. So to me, Tex Mex is the best cuisine on earth. I can't live without it. We cook Mexican in my house here in Florida every Friday. And when I go home to Houston, Tex Mex is the priority. And so Mexican food could actually be a great place to start because cumin actually fits very well. Every time I buy a recipe book, it's like ground cumin in the Mexican food. We don't use ground cumin as much. We use the whole seeds in Indian cooking. So if you're open to Indian cooking will, of course, involve all these spices. If you're looking at Mexican cooking, that's also a great way to start practicing using some spices that you may not normally use in your day because you can easily use turmeric into your Mexican cooking and things like that as well. Indian cooking will, of course, involve these spices. Sometimes the different Middle Eastern or Asian cuisines will as well. But like you said, sometimes fresh is so good, it's so potent. I love using ginger that way, garlic that way, cilantro that way. Even fennel seeds in their whole form are very good if someone's having heartburn or after a meal they just don't feel good, they're feeling kind of ill. Fennel seeds kind of cool down the entire system. So that's an easy place to start is just putting fennel into hot water. In Ayurveda, we put a lot of things into tea form. We just heat hot water, put it in there, and use it. So herbal teas, medicinal teas are another great way to get your spices in. And then when it comes to certain spices like turmeric, that's when medical science and modern science has really proven a lot in terms of the benefits of taking it in supplement form. So out of all the spices I named, the only one that I would take in supplement form is the turmeric because
Okay.
cinnamon, I would put it in a tea. Fennel, I would just eat it raw or I would put it in a tea form if I needed it after a meal. Cumin, ginger, all of these things, I'm going to cook with them because they're great inside of food. And turmeric is too. I mean, a lot of people take fresh turmeric and juice it, which has some benefits. Ancient Ayurveda never really used it in its fresh form. We always took it and dried it into the spice. And that kitchen culinary spice, turmeric, has a lot of benefits. It is anti inflammatory, antioxidant, all the things I said. But make sure if you're going to cook with it, you use black pepper or a healthy fat to increase that absorption. That's important. And then when it comes to the turmeric science of right now, that's when we talk about out of the entire plant, 3 to 5% is the curcuminoids. And out of those, curcumin is the most effective at reducing inflammation. And so when I learned all this, I thought, gosh, well, when I go to the doctor and my knee hurts or I have pain, they're giving me NSAIDs and anti inflammatories, which I totally understand. Sometimes I have a lot of pain and I need the help. But why aren't they offering a natural remedy if it's as effective? And so that put me on my path of researching. And about 10 years ago, I built a formulation because I had a hypothesis. Can I build something that's so effective that people will take this as their natural alternative? And so that's what I've done for the last 10 years is I built my turmeric gold formula, my inflammation relief formula, constantly like innovating on how do I help people solve their health problems or support their health issues with natural super spices.
There has been, oh, thank you for explaining that. By the way, this is another thing I wanted to bring up because this has been in the news. You go on Instagram, some people I follow, they bring up turmeric and having too much turmeric and it can be bad for you. How much turmeric can you actually use or eat without, I don't know, damaging? I don't know if it damages your liver or if what it does in the body. Can you explain that?
Sure. So we have a lot of science on the benefits of turmeric. We have over 17,000 scientific studies and papers written in PubMed. And when you look through that paperwork, it talks about how it's safe and effective for humans, for animals. We have a lot of animal studies. We have a decent amount of human studies. And as we study it further, we have seen a lot of those benefits I talked about. Now, is every herb perfect for everybody? No, there's no way. I can eat something sometimes at a restaurant. I'm like, that didn't sit well. And I don't even know what it was. Usually we're going to assume it's like MSG or seed oil, something we know is bad. But over the years of having a turmeric supplement company, I have met so many people who tell me they're allergic to black pepper. And they only learn that by eating things with black pepper and recognizing it, right? So we do know that turmeric is a vasodilator. It does thin the blood. That's good when we're talking about increased nitric oxide, increased blood flow, sending more blood flow to places like hair, skin, nails, and we want more blood flow to areas. But it can also be bad. So if it's something where someone's on a blood thinner, they shouldn't take it. We know that if people have kidney stones, tendency towards kidney stones, they should watch out for total curcumin consumption. We know that if you have low iron, you should watch out because it could cause that extra blood flow and thinning of the blood, which you wouldn't want if you have low iron. But our main contraindication that we ever talk about is the blood thinner issue. I have seen all this news around liver and things like that. But when I read the articles and when I read the paper with the scientist said, look, this is 6 people. We actually don't know everything else they were on in terms of all the medications. And we have a lot more research to do. We just are thinking that turmeric is a problem, but we don't know. And so I think there's a lot more research to be done in that arena because we are still learning in this day and age so much about our own genetics. Like, do we need to take methylated Bs or not? And that's an exploration that's going to continue to happen. But where I feel good about it is turmeric is something that's been used across so many cultures for so many millennia. And so we know the efficacy of it and the safety of it is pretty widespread.
Thank you for Thank you for helping explain that. And like you said, it's been used forever by people in cooking. And if it was a problem, a lot more people have been sick. So what are some small daily habits or micro routines that Ayurveda can help regulate hormones and energy naturally without overhauling everything at once?
Absolutely. Hormone health, I find, is such a big topic. It is something that we struggle with more and more as we're aging. Thank goodness there's this huge conversation moving forward around perimenopause and menopause. I'm definitely enjoying watching it and learning so much. And I think we underestimate how our hormone health impacts us as we age. So often we're like, oh, it's just aging. This is just how I'm going to feel. What ancient Ayurveda said is, look, you have the opportunity every single day to design your life for the level of vibrancy and health that you want to have. You have that power. And so Ayurveda taught us every day you could do a series of rituals that are detoxing, that are beneficial, so that by the time you hit year end, you have already done the work to be reducing your inflammation, supporting all of your detox pathways, feeling more vibrant. And so a couple of simple examples of that. When you wake up, Ayurveda says, wake up in the morning and hydrate first. We actually say set an intention first. So we always teach everyone touch the ground, touch your forehead, and set an intention for the day. You can call that a moment of gratitude, but really calling in what energy you want to pull in for the day. And for me, mine is always, can I have more peace, please? And then secondly, hydrate. So we taught to have a copper lined cup ready at your bedside and to hydrate first. Why? Because everything in Ayurveda revolves around gut. We want to make sure you're going to have that morning bowel movement. All night you detox and pull together all your toxins. We want to make sure those all evacuate the system first thing. Then we teach go and brush your teeth and do something called using a copper tongue scraper. So if you're listening and you're like, what is a tongue scraper? We teach that you should buy any metal tongue scraper. We love copper because it's more of an antibacterial metal. And what you do is you gently scrape the tongue 7 to 14 times. And so just like in reflexology, where we know all the organs of the body are reflected on the bottom of the foot, in Ayurveda and traditional Chinese medicine, we look at the tongue to understand what are the imbalances someone's suffering with. Are you having liver, kidney? Are you having too much toxic burden in the system? And so by gently scraping the tongue, you're gently massaging all the organs and gently detoxing all your organs. And you're also clearing your taste buds so they'll work better. You're also supporting your oral microbiome, communicating better with your gut microbiome down below. And so that's one example of a simple daily habit from the self-care rituals that is detoxing. Another good one is oil pulling. Oil pulling is becoming really popular on TikTok. People are talking about putting a tablespoon or two of coconut oil in the mouth. And this is an ancient Ayurvedic practice. You swish that oil around for about 5 to 20 minutes, any organic food grade oil. And what you're doing is you're collecting all the toxins from your mouth that accumulated overnight. And so when you spit it out, make sure you spit it out in the shower, not in the shower, toilet, or sink. Make sure you spit it out in the trash so you don't clog the pipes of your home. I like to always say that. But it's a good way to really clear out your oral microbiome, again, for that communication piece. And so isn't it incredible that this ancient science taught us all this, and we now know it's beneficial for heart health, for gut health, and all those things. But what I love is these are simple rituals. They take 5 minutes. And oil pulling, you can multitask. You can go make your morning coffee while you're doing it. You can go out and be in the sunlight for just a few moments, put your feet in the grass while you're doing it. But each thing adds up. And then when we're talking about autoimmune, a lot of times when we look at the autoimmune concerns that we have, it's the body not communicating well. The body is attacking itself. So Ayurveda taught us, look, here's tiny little micro habits that are detoxing. It doesn't take, you don't have to do you should do but the one mega detox once a year. That's the ideal, to do that big panchakarma profound detox. But let me show you how to do it in a micro way every day, so that when you do go to detox, there's not much there left to do because you already did the work. You are already building daily vibrant health using the Ayurvedic rituals.
Thank you for giving us those different tools and the meaning behind these tools.
Yeah,
It's just crazy how these are the things that people used to do
yeah,
and they're lost. I mean,
right.
just modern society created a rush type of lifestyle, and we're forgetting to do the things that balance us and give us grounding, a grounding lifestyle. You mentioned copper being so grounding. Why is that? What is it about copper that is helpful? Does copper go into the water, or I mean, why use these tools that are made out of copper?
Copper is antimicrobial. And so it's interesting that in the past they noticed that, steel is good, but copper is better. And copper does remineralize the water. And many of us are low in copper nowadays because we're not even exposed to copper much. It's not part of our daily lives. We're using steel, glass, plastic, modern conveniences. And so Ayurveda always had us drinking out of copper cups to mineralize the water, using a copper tongue scraper. And it's interesting, when I go to functional medicine conferences now, they have us using more silver and or more copper to remineralize. And we know we're low in minerals nowadays based on how we're even growing our food. And so it's interesting that ancient Ayurveda kept minerals as part of our life just by building it into the hard goods that we interacted with, like our own cups.
How about, I know the heart of autoimmune disease and Ayurveda medicine is the gut. Can you talk about the teas and ginger lime type of digestions that help support autoimmunity, or something that they can try tonight if they want to?
Absolutely. It's interesting. Right now, when we talk about gut health, we sometimes talk about digestive bitters. And it's interesting that nowadays in modern day life, our palate really craves sweet. We crave sugar, we crave sweet. And ancient Ayurveda said that if you're craving something sweet, it's because you're trying to cool down anxiety in the system. And so every time you reach for something sweet, I encourage you to pause and say, why am I reaching for it? And usually it's a stress response. And so then you have a moment, just a brief moment, to say, can I switch that out for something else? So when I do that for myself, when I go into my pantry and I'm looking for my dark chocolate with almonds, and I pause and ask myself, why am I here? I can usually also say, could you have coconut water instead? Could you have an unwind tea instead? Could you have some adaptogens instead? And then I'll make that better choice. So what's interesting about gut is we've also forgotten about digestive bitters, and we have no craving for them because it's bitter. That's not a taste profile we even want to consume. And so things like ginger are so powerful because they fit into that category, and they ignite our digestive enzymes. They support that gut lining being healed and healthier. And so simple habits are waking up in the morning and making ginger tea or ginger lemon tea. And that lemon will also be alkalizing because so many of us are acidic nowadays. Another easy one is what we call CCFT. So coriander, cumin, fennel tea. That's an easy tea out of Ayurveda. Again, it's bitter, so you might not love the taste. Even I myself have to increase the fennel in there. So I'm like, I like fennel better. Who wants to eat coriander seeds and cumin seeds in a tea? That's not even fun. So those are two easy ways to start. Tongue scraping helps with gut health as well. So that's an easy one to do. I've had people who are constipated start doing tongue scraping, and that helps their constipation. I have a lot of people who come to me constipated, and I give them aloe vera juice. Aloe vera juice is an easy, fast, simple remedy out of Ayurveda that gets rid of constipation like that. And a brand I happen to love is sold at Whole Foods called George's, if you're in the United States. And George's tastes like water. So it's like an easy habit to be compliant to. I have that on hand at all times. And if anyone's like, oh yeah, I didn't go to the bathroom today, I'm like, half a glass of aloe vera, that'll fix you right up and you'll be all set. So yeah, we love different practices like that. We also talk a lot about sleep being a piece of the digestive puzzle, because if you don't sleep well, your entire system will not work well, because sleep is your opportunity to heal. Sleep is your opportunity to detox and all those things. And so Ayurveda says, look, it's actually about each piece of the puzzle. But starting in the morning with everything focused on gut and igniting digestive fire and those rituals is where you start. Then make sure lunch is your biggest meal of the day, because that's when your digestive fire, 10 to 2 on the clock, is fit that time of day. So it's when your digestive fire is ready to digest and process whatever you give it. Moving into the evening, we're actually meant to eat a smaller dinner, which is hard because we're used to that being the biggest meal. So eat something easy to digest, and then finish eating 3 hours before bed. So your body finishes digestion and it can set you up for really quality sleep, which is your next opportunity to detox and heal and repair the body.
All those tips are wonderful. Since you were mentioning the tea being very like bitter and not we're not used to that, would it be counterintuitive or counterproductive, I should actually say, to add honey to it? Or you're like,
So it's a good question. So Ayurveda says you cannot heat honey. Like heating honey, boiling honey is actually really bad in Ayurveda. And I've been to Ayurveda detox centers where they'll actually bring you honey because they know you're not going to drink the tea if it's a really strong ginger tea. Sometimes it's really hot or it's really like burning. And so even I myself on any given morning, if I make my ginger lemon tea, I'll wait till it's a little closer to really like a drinkable tea temperature, and then I'll add in a bit of honey to make it palatable for me. So it's not counterproductive. I'm a big believer in whatever gets the homework done is still worth doing, so you get the benefits of it. So it's totally up to you. It's up to your taste.
okay,
But the fact that you're
you
putting the
wait till it
bitters
cools
in,
off and then put
yeah,
the tea. Okay,
yeah.
okay,
So it's not exactly. So you don't want to cook the honey, but you can add it in as close to the end right before drinking.
awesome, thank you. Yeah, because some people were like, well, I'm not gonna get the benefits because I don't like the way those things taste.
Correct. Exactly. And so that's where I'm a big fan of compliance over perfection. And I want it to be palatable because I know otherwise we won't be consistent.
Yeah, yeah, and we're trying to get people better.
Exactly.
I know part of what you do is movement. And I know you touched on sleep, we touched on teas and foods, and I know you have a special tea time. Actually took that up since you talked about it, and it's very, very helpful instead of um, it's that afternoon booster. Instead of taking a nap, either
Yes.
I get tea or I do a little workout,
Yes.
and I'm not tired in the afternoon if I do those either two things.
That's
So,
awesome.
would you talk about movement like sticks that you talk about?
For sure. Yes. So in Ayurveda, we were big believers in walking and yoga. And what's interesting is when I go to India to do detoxes, they always laugh at us. They're like, oh, you have to lift so heavy. You guys have to put so much strain on the body. Don't you understand that's not the way you have to do it? And I always say, we don't have these intense yoga practices that you have here. We don't all do like Ashtanga and Hatha yoga. So it's interesting. If you can have a really beautiful yoga practice, you will build muscle and you will create long, lean muscle mass and all those great things. But we were big believers in the simple, light movements like walking. So I do a circadian walk twice a day. I walk 30 to 40 minutes in the morning, and then I walk another 30 to 40 minutes in the evening so that I'm waking with the sun. I'm also setting the day with the sun. For me to be able to release all the thoughts and the emotions and the responsibilities and the chaos of the day is really important, because otherwise I go to bed carrying it all with me. That's what I chew on all night. And then I'll wake up in the morning, like still thinking about that topic. So my walks to me is when I talk to my best girlfriends. It's when I process all those thoughts. And also our body needs to move. If we want good digestion, body has to move. If we want healthy lymphatic system, body has to move. So movement's mandatory. It's just a matter of how are you going to get movement in a way that you like. And then Ayurveda is actually a sister science to yoga. And so we are big believers in yoga has the ability to balance us, to really help bring in the wholeness and the health that we want. It moves the lymphatic, it helps us really stay balanced overall and bring blood flow everywhere. So we're big believers in both. And then you mentioned my favorite self-care habit, which is tea time is me time. I don't even have a teacup at my desk today. 'Cause next thing I do is tea time today in the afternoon. But pretend this is a teacup. And I always teach tea time is me time as a way to pause and build anchor points into your day where you tune into yourself. So now I think of it as like a mindful moment, an anchor moment to ask yourself, how am I doing today? What do I need to do next? Have I planned so I get to eat today and take my supplements? Am I hydrated? And usually our intuition will come up with some answers like you need to cancel on that person. You need to shift the schedule. You haven't left space for you. And so that's really a message I want to leave us all with is Ayurveda is showing us all these ways to build a rhythm because we matter and our intuition matters and our bringing body, mind, and spirit into alignment matters. And so to use tea time as me time, you can call it coffee time as me time or whatever you prefer. But to use that moment as an anchoring mindful moment and pause in your day is a very powerful tool unto itself. Sometimes I call it collect peace because I just need to collect more peace in my day at a given point. So I'll pause in my car. Maybe it'll be in car line and I'll have no podcast on, no noise, no music, no Facebook, nothing. And I'll just collect peace because soon enough there's going to be noise and all the things to continue with.
Yeah. Thank you for giving us all these tips. I just want to ask you one more question because I know you got to go. Your upcoming book, The Inflammation Code, it's a no diet system for chronic inflammation. What can listeners look forward to in the book, and how can someone with autoimmune disease take this information into their daily lives?
So the inflammation code is my gift to the world. It is Ayurveda broken down into these 6 pillars and simplified into a guidebook that we can all use. For me, I have been that chronic autoimmune patient my whole life, and Ayurveda gave me back vitality. Like it's priceless what Ayurveda has given me. And so it's my mission to teach the Ayurveda lifestyle to the world because the more everyone understands it, the more we can live with the vibrant health, the energy, the brain power, the mood, everything that we deserve. And so this book is a guidebook for that. It shows you exactly how to live your entire life according to your elemental design, how to bring in all these different recipes and tools for your gut health, how to build that circadian rhythm, how to use the super spices, and really kind of showing you how to kind of look at your environmental toxic burden in a way that can be really easy. Because I'm a big believer in let's make it simple and easy. Let's not make it so complicated. But once we build the rhythm in, we're just living by a rhythm. And so that's what that book is. It's a guidebook on how to bring Ayurveda into your life in an easy way so you win at inflammation and thus you can win at your health.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time. And
Thank you so much for having me.
yes, thank you. And I'm going to go ahead and stop